Yo, what's up, guys? This is Dave with Dynasty Dorks. We're a year-round fantasy football podcast, and we do Dynasty and redraft content. Thanks for the follow. Good luck this season. What's going on, guys? It is 1 week until the NFL season kicks off. We'll have the Bucs versus the Dallas Cowboys finishing up right around this time next week. And it is not too early to start and talking about NFT Draft. NFT Draft is going to be the future of fantasy sports. And with NFT Draft, they have a huge tournament week 1. It is not too late to enter. All you need to do is go to NFTDraft.io, buy some packs, and get started. Check out our other videos on YouTube to learn how to play, to learn about just what is NFT. But today I want to talk about daily sports. I want to talk about keywords and terms and how learning daily sports, the basics of daily sports, is going to be the fundamentals to you winning money, because I'm just here to help you win money. And I want to help you win in these NFT tournaments. And I want to make sure that you guys have a good understanding before the tournament even starts. And that starts off with understanding daily fantasy sports. So today we're going to go through the basics, the 101 of daily fantasy sports. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Manscaped. Manscaped is the #1 tool for men's grooming. They have the Lawnmower 4.0 right there. They have other tools such as the Weed Whacker to take care of some of the other stuff. They also got some lotions, deodorants, some ball deodorants, different things, the Crop Preserver, a lot of different products that I think people just only think they have the lawnmower. Use promo code Dynasty Dorks, all capital Dynasty Dorks, and you get 20% off plus free shipping. Go get something for yourself. Ladies, go get something for your man. So let's talk about the basics, and we'll just start off with just basic terminology. And when you're going out there and you're preparing for these NFT tournaments, you need to be following daily sports podcasts, looking at daily sports articles. So don't just look at your general fantasy football articles, because they're going to have season-long content or dynasty content. You want daily specific stuff. So I'll throw some guys in the comments. Fantasy Couch is one of my guys. Sideline Squib. There's a lot of people out there, and we're going to be doing some daily content for you guys as well. So make sure you follow us, Dynasty Dorks, at YouTube. So just Dynasty Dorks, one word, Fantasy Football 2, Dynasty Dorks Fantasy Football on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that good stuff. So you're listening to your podcast and you're listening to what they're saying, and you have to understand the terminology that they're using and why. So when someone says, hey, I'm going to fade this player this week because he's got a high ownership, what that means is I'm going to avoid that player and not use him in my lineups, because there's a lot of people that are using him. And when you're in tournaments and everybody plays Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and there's let's say an 80% ownership, that means 80% of the people in the tournament have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. So every time they score points, 80% of the people score points. So it's good for you, but it's also good for everybody else. But those 20% of people that do not have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, not only do they benefit from them not having a good game, but they would benefit from maybe it's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is the stack you use. Or maybe you go with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins because they have a 15% ownership because they had a bad matchup or whatever it is. So you want low ownership because that increases your chances when you're in tournaments, because you want to have something a little different than everyone else. So when everyone has Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, it's going to be really hard for you to make some ground when those guys score. But when everyone has those guys and you are the 15% that has DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, they score a touchdown, you get double the points. Boom, you go flying to the top of the board. And even if you have use some of the players that other people are using in these tournaments, you're probably going to have one volatile player that is just very minimally owned. You may have a Henry Ruggs, or you may have a Jalen Reagor or someone like that that's a 1% owned, or 0% are starting him this week. So if they do go off, even though you have Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill like everybody else, that one person can make a huge difference in your lineup if they have a huge week. Chalk. So when they say a player is chalk, they're usually talking about players that are extreme values. So when you look at your daily lineups like FanDuel and DraftKings, you're looking at their lineups and you're going, wow, this guy right here, Gus Edwards, he's only 3,600 and all the other starting running backs are 7,600. Why is that? Well, it's because J.K. Dobbins was projected to be the starter when they made the point system. So everybody is going to attack that play. You can avoid it, you can fade it, or you can just say, you know what, that's a free square. I'm going to take that just like everybody else, and I'm going to go get Gus Edwards and build my lineup around that, because I know he's going to get, me 16, 15 points a week, and that's what you want. So you're looking at FanDuel, you're looking at DraftKings. A lot of them have the 1x, 2x, 3x next to them. What they're saying is you want the person's score for them to meet value. They need to score 1 times, 2 times, or 3 times what the average player's, what you're paying for the player. So if you're paying $7,600 or $8,600, they need to hit 2x to meet value. And some of these guys, they're 1,700. They don't have anything on them because if they get a couple points, they meet value. If they go and get, 20 points, they've crushed value. Value is just, you want to get players that are going to return investment. So if you're paying X amount of money, you're paying, a top 15 salary, they're going to be a top 15 player. So when you look at values, those are guys that you think are going to they're going to end up better than what you're paying. So you're paying for a top 25 player and you feel like you're getting a top 15 value. So just like anything else you do in life, you are looking for those values. So then you can turn around and get those, the DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, pay up and get some of the high-end stuff because you saved money elsewhere and got your values. When you look at your tournaments in daily, they have GPP tournaments and they have cash games. Cash games are usually you against, if you can beat 50% of the crowd, or you can go one-on-one or two-on-two. That's a cash game. Those are usually the prizes are a little smaller, but your risk is minimal. And then you have your tournaments, and your tournaments are GPPs, so guaranteed prize pools. And those are going to be where you have, sometimes people have 20 lineups. They have a wife, then they have 40 lineups. But you have a lot of people throwing in variables in their lineups. What's nice about NFTDraft, they don't do that. They don't allow that to happen. So you're allowed to play your one lineup. You're not going to be able to have someone that has 40, 50, 60 lineups in these single game tournaments. And when you're playing, you still just remember you want to use the same principles. And the number one rule is you have to know the rules. You don't go in here and create a lineup, submit the lineup, pay your money, and you didn't know the rules. You didn't know the scoring. Because any ranking that you use, you need to understand the scoring to understand the ranking. If I know that this site is 0.5 PPR and this site is full point PPR, then I'm going to use different rankings. If I know that this one is a 6-point touchdown for quarterbacks and this one's a 4-point for quarterbacks, then I'm going to use different rankings. So knowing the scoring, knowing the rules, you want to know the rules of the tournament. Are you allowed to, do one entry? Are you allowed to do 20 entries? Is everyone else allowed to do 20 entries? Because maybe this isn't the tournament for me. And then you want to know how the cash pays out. When you're picking different games and playing different games, sometimes payouts are a little different. So understanding that is extremely important. So there's a wonderful article on the website. Again, you can go to NFTDraft.io. And this is a great tool. Not only can you go on there and purchase the cards, remember it's free to join the tournament. You just got to purchase the cards. You can win $15,000, just weekly cash prizes. And they're also doing giveaways so you can actually just win the cards that you're going to play. So this article is up there, and it talks about the importance of understanding the structure of the structure of the tournament, the structure of the format of the lineup you're going to submit. So about positions, there's one or QB1 or QB2. So quarterback, he's usually the guy that passes the ball. So everyone, the quarterback is the one that's behind center. Usually he is the one that's going to score the highest amount of points in fantasy football, and he's the one that touches the ball every single snap pretty much. RB1, 2, and 3. So normally there's committees of running backs. There's not only one guy that carries the ball. This is a guy that's going to line up behind or beside the quarterback. And sometimes the second running back can score the most points, but typically the guy that gets the most touches is the guy that is the number one, and you typically want to play that. There are a few teams that utilize the number two quite a bit, and a lot of times the number two is someone that catches the passes. And something to look at is targets. Targets are how many times that a running back or a receiver is targeted with a throw by the quarterback. If you're seeing that an RB2 or an RB3 is getting 5, 6, 7, or 8 even targets a game, that's where you want to follow that player, because every target is worth 2.5 times what a carry is. So if you have a running back that gets 10 carries or 15 carries and someone that gets 8 targets, the targets are more valuable, because not only are they going to get a point for the catch, they're also going to get a point for the yard. So if a guy runs the ball, he's going to get 1 point for every 10 yards. If a guy catches the ball and gets 10 yards, it's worth 2 points because he got a point for catching the ball. Hope that makes sense. Wide receivers, some teams run 2 receiver sets, some teams run 3 receiver sets, some teams rotate receivers in there. Usually you don't want to play the 4s and 5s. Those are very unlikely to hit. That's the guys, if you want to throw something in there and really make your lineup, unique, those 4 and 5s would be it. But normally you want to stick to the 1, 2, and 3. Not many teams are going to have anybody produce outside of that without an injury. Tight end 1, 2, and 3, you just want to stick with the 1s. Unless you get an accidental touchdown or something like that, you want to stick to the tight end 1. Defenses, the entire defense of the team is every player. There's different scoring with that, which we're about to go through. And then there's a kicker. The guy kicks the ball. Defense and kicker. So defense and kicker is extremely unique. This is only in NFT, and they're going to combine those. So every point that the kicker or the defense get will be combined. So you'll pay a little bit extra, but it allows you to have an extra spot to play another position. Passing touchdowns, as I said earlier, 4 points for a passing touchdown, and then you have the 1 point for 25 passing yards. So 1 point for the 25 passing yards. What's interesting about that, you'll see below, 10 rushing yards equals 1 point. So your quarterbacks that can run the ball, they call them Konami code quarterbacks, because 100 yards passing is 4 points. 100 yards rushing is 10 points. So it's like you're essentially getting 1.5 extra touchdowns when you're doing that. So some formats will have 6-point touchdowns to kind of help the pocket passers. But this one, they have a 3-point bonus for those who can throw the ball over 300 yards. So that helps. So again, know your scoring. If you didn't know that, then you may avoid guys like Aaron Rodgers, who throws for 300 yards a game. Tom Brady throws for 300 yards a game. Ben Roethlisberger throws for 300 yards a game. Those guys are elevated by that 300-yard passing game. So you don't have to only go after the rushing quarterbacks, even though you want to have a good rushing quarterback because of the ceiling. It's another terminology. Ceiling is just, Kirk Cousins is a guy, he's got a safe floor. Means that he's gonna get you a minimal amount of points pretty much every week. That's his floor. And then the ceiling for Kirk Cousins is lower because he doesn't really ever end up as the QB1 overall. He always kind of hovers in that 8 to 12, 8 to 15, 8 to 16 range. But a guy like Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, they can be the QB1 overall because they have the rushing upside, the passing upside, they're the total package. They have the upside. There are times where those guys have, like Jalen Hurts is someone, he's got a high ceiling, but he can have a low floor. So low floor means that they could end up stinking it up. They could end up, scoring 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. Jameis Winston's the kind of guy like that where he could have a boom week where he ends up throwing 5 touchdowns for 400 yards, and the next week he's got 5 touchdowns. 5 interceptions. So he's someone that's very volatile. Interceptions, -1. Rushing touchdowns are 6 for everybody. 100 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving, you get 3 points bonus. So again, your guys that get the yardage, that's important to know. So there's some guys that get a lot of catches, but they don't get a lot of yardage. You're going to look for terms like ADOT, and ADOT is the average depth of the target. So quarterbacks that don't throw the ball far, like Jared Goff is one, those guys are going to have lower ADOTs as far as the receivers. There's also some receivers, like you typically slot receivers like Tyler Boyd, Jamison Crowder. They're going to have lower ADOTs because they work on the intermediate part of the field in that 5 to 10 yard range. When you're outside receivers, they're going to have the higher depth of target. And you might see DK Metcalf only have 4 catches, or Tyler Lockett may only have 4 catches, but they have 125 yards because they're getting targeted deep down the field. So that's something to consider when you're in this scoring because, again, as much as the receptions are worth a point, if you can get 100 yards, that 3 extra points is huge. Not only are you getting 10 points, you're getting 13 points for just a 100-yard game. Again, knowing the scoring, it's all right here. It's just extremely important, and it really is just as important as knowing the players. Right here, kickers, 5 points for a 50-yarder, 4 points for 40-yarder. That's big. They miss a field goal, it's going to be -1. They miss an extra point, it's -1. So using some of these examples, you're able to truly understand what you're looking for when you're setting your lineup. And of course, just like anything, it's a little trial and error. You'll find the players that you like. But knowing the rules will help you set your lineup and help you target the cards that you're looking for when you're doing your trades and you're buying your cards. So again, with NFT, with daily sports, the first thing is know the rules, know the scoring. When you know those things, you're already ahead of the competition because there's plenty of people out there that are not paying attention. They don't know about those bonuses. They don't know about ownership. They don't know what stacks are. So a stack, so what you'll do is you'll say, I'm going to take a stack and say, I'm going to, maybe my tight end isn't great, but I'm going to play the tight end that goes with my quarterback and stack them because they're playing in a high scoring game this week. One thing that really helps is you look at the Vegas spreads and you see, okay, this game is projected to be a 65-point game. This game is projected to be a 48-point game because they're playing in really bad weather and it's two good defenses. Well, the other one's got two bad defenses, two high-scoring offenses, and they're playing in a dome. Okay, well, I want pieces of that offense. So you might take parts of both sides, and there's game stacks you can do like that. But you might say, you know what, I'm gonna play Robert Tonyan because I have Aaron Rodgers, or I'm gonna play Tyler Higbee because I'm playing Matthew Stafford instead of playing, Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts, who you might have ranked a little higher, but you're playing the guy that is going to be attached to your quarterback because if he throws a touchdown to Tyler Higbee, if he throws two touchdowns to Tyler Higbee, then you're going to get points for both guys getting touchdowns. So that's going to launch you up. Again, you're going to pass people up because you have not only scored one touchdown, but you've scored twice every single time that they did that, plus the yardage. If they get a 50-yard pass play, you're getting 50 yards receiving and 50 yards passing. So again, your numbers are going up in 2s and 3s, and you're really catching up to people and you're passing people up. So I hope this was helpful. Again, we really want to help you guys out understanding the basics of daily fantasy sports. I cannot underestimate the importance of that. So make sure you guys follow myself. Make sure you follow other daily specific sports. I know this is a weekly event, but you're not playing redraft. And if you're listening to redraft content, season long general fantasy football content, it's not always going to help you. When you're looking at those types of things, look for starts of the week. Look for sits of the week. A sit of the week might say, hey, this quarterback is really good, but he's playing against the number one pass defense. Or this running back is really good, but he's playing against the number one pass defense. You want to sit him this week, or you want to fade him for better options. Obviously, if you only have 2 good running backs, you're going to have to play 2 good running backs. But if you got 4 good running backs and Myles Gaskin has a great matchup and Chris Carson's got a bad matchup, maybe you want to flip that and you want to play Gaskin instead of Carson. Maybe Gaskin's going to be in a high-scoring game and Carson's going to be in a low-scoring game, because of rain or whatever. Then you switch it up. You put the guy in. So, again, appreciate your time. Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you guys give us a follow on YouTube, NFTDraft.io. Have a good night.